This is gonna be intense. In this video, I'm gonna rank the 7 best barbecue spots in Austin, Texas.
Oh, hi, Mark.
What's up, Freccero fam? This may be potentially the most controversial and intense video I'm ever gonna make. I'm gonna rank the barbecue spots in Austin, Texas. As you can imagine, Texas and especially Austin takes its barbecue very seriously. And I went to tons of different barbecue spots all around Austin. And after going to a ton, I narrowed it down to just 7. Only 7. And in this video, starting at number 7, I'm gonna rank all the best barbecue spots in Austin. 2 things I do want to say before I get into the list. 1, in terms of this list, the main question I had for myself is, what barbecue would I want to have again? So this includes all of the meats, all of the sides, pretty much everything. The second thing, and I do want to really stress this, is that when it comes to Austin, when it comes to their barbecue, even the 7th one on this list is light years better than pretty much any barbecue I've ever had anywhere in the world. And of course, like I said, there were numerous barbecue spots I tried in Austin that did not even make this list. With that being said, let's get into it. Starting off at number 7 is Rollin Smoke. And again, I want to stress, of course, there has to be a number 7 on this list, but even still, Rollin Smoke slapped. My favorite thing I gotta say was their brisket sandwich. They are a great food truck that has phenomenal barbecue. Number 6, Micklethwait. Now, I loved Micklethwait, especially given the whole ambiance. When you go there, similar to Rollin Smoke, it is just literally a food truck, but with a whole pit next to it and everything. They have amazing cuts. And one big thing that really jumped out at me, and again, it's very interesting how each barbecue spot has that one thing that I'm like, wow, this is just the best I've ever had. Their sides. The mac and cheese and coleslaw just absolutely hit, in addition to their pork ribs. Number 5, Salt Lick. I do want to say, as a very important side note, to be very scientific on this list, I had Salt Lick at the airport. By far, the best airport restaurant of any airport I've ever been to in the world. And I remember going there being like, I've heard of Salt Lick, but it's in the airport. How good can it be? Absolutely incredible. I tried a bunch of different things. My favorite one, which completely shocked me, was actually their chorizo. Super, super, super good. I had it in a breakfast burrito with not only chorizo, but a bunch of other ingredients. And I was blown away by how good it was. Number 4, Terry Black's. Now, arguably, Terry Black's is one of the most famous and well-known barbecue spots in Austin. You typically are gonna wait about, say, an hour to 2 hours in line. Luckily, when I got there, I only waited about 15 or 20 minutes. It was kind of like an off-hour time on a Sunday, so that was really good. And Terry Black's has amazing barbecue. Of course, it makes sense why it's so popular and so famous. And out of all the things I had, there were really 2 that jumped out at me. 1, make sure you ask for the fatty brisket. I will say as a huge pro tip, this is true for any barbecue. The fatty brisket, in my opinion, is always gonna be better than quote unquote regular brisket. And 2, their turkey. A huge pro tip I have, anytime you go to any barbecue spot, always ask them like, hey, what is one item on the menu that you think is the best that not that many people order? That's a huge pro tip question to ask. Because when I went to Terry Black's, I was thinking ribs, pulled pork, brisket, of course, the fatty brisket, and more. Turkey never even crossed my mind until I was talking to them about it, and they're like, oh, no, you have to try the turkey. That's a big one, and it absolutely hit. Number 3, Black's. Now, a huge thing I want to say on this video, there's a huge difference between Terry Black's and Black's, sometimes even called Original Black's. And it's a massive rivalry in Austin. And of course, when it comes to this, I gotta give it to Black's. I love all of their food. Absolutely insane. I feel like Black's, especially being the 3rd spot, we're getting to the top 3 now. Pretty much everything I had was excellent. One big thing I really liked there was their pulled pork. And in addition, which again surprised me a lot, I loved their Mexican corn. All right, I gotta mention this. Now that we're at the top 2, I cannot begin to tell you how much I went back and forth trying to figure out which one to give the top spot for and which one to give the 2nd spot for. So I do want to say that these 2 are just neck and neck. I mean, I've gone back and forth about this for the past week after writing notes for this video and going to all these spots and everything. It is really tough to say. I even almost gave him a tie for this video, but I'm like, all right, that's kind of taking the lazy way out. So number 2, Franklin. Now, when it comes to the most famous spots in Austin that most people have heard of, Terry Black's is one of them, but I'd say by far the biggest known spot, Franklin for sure. Their food is just mind-blowing. There's no other way to word that. In addition, Franklin is notorious not just for the food, but the experience. I will say, by far, the best food experience I've ever had in terms of the whole process. Because in case you didn't know, you typically have to get there 3 hours early. If it's on the weekends, sometimes it's between 3 and 4 hours early. And if it's like, say, during a peak festival like South by Southwest, I've heard of people getting there 5 or 6 hours before they open. They open at 11 and they close whenever they run out of food. That's it. So you could, like, say, get there 4 hours early and potentially not get any food. And I have done an entire video about the whole experience going to Franklin. I've it listed below in the description just because it is a lot of fun. You wait for a few hours in line, you have a bunch of drinks, you kind of, in a sense, you kind of tailgate it. Being honest, you tailgate it with a bunch of people, and then, of course, you have amazing barbecue. And I gotta be honest when I say that everything at Franklin is top-notch. From their sausage, especially their jalapeno cheddar sausage, the turkey, the pulled pork, and of course, what they're most known for, the brisket. I've even had some people tell me that their brisket was the best piece of meat they have ever had, period, among not just barbecue, but any single piece of meat they have ever had. You can make a legitimate argument that Franklin's brisket is the best brisket in the entire world. And now, the number one spot, the number one best barbecue I had in Austin, La Barbecue. I fell in love with this spot. It is similar to Franklin in the fact that it opens at 11 and you do have to get there a bit early. Definitely not as early as Franklin. That being said, though, it's one of those places that's not as well known as Franklin's, but it is truly, factoring in all their meats and sides and everything, it is truly the best barbecue I have ever had, period. The sauces, just incredible. Their brisket, insane. The sides that they had, I had a spicy chipotle coleslaw. Absolutely just crushed it. Their turkey was insane. Their sausage, also unbelievable, and especially their pork ribs, the best ribs I've ever had. Overall, factoring in all the meats and the sides and pretty much everything at La Barbecue, I genuinely was in shock of how good it was. And I remember, especially at 11 in the morning, which is a bit early to eat barbecue. I will say that. I wish some of these places opened a bit later, but I had a quarter pound of everything. That's a huge pro tip I have as well. Typically what I do when I go to any place, I say a quarter pound of brisket, quarter pound of ribs, quarter pound of this. That way I can try everything. And I remember being like, you know what? I just don't know how much I can really eat right now, like being honest. And I just could not stop eating. I completely ate everything, had the biggest food coma, and it was 100% worth it because La Barbecue, by far, not only the best barbecue in Austin, but the best barbecue I've ever had in the entire world.